Greetings, I am ADAMA, spiritual high priest. I am a high priest from the Lemurian love dimensions, still very much in existence on your timeline. I live on the higher love dimensions. I am here with this light grid programmer, Suzanna, Maria, Emmanuel, who is bringing many back into the Lemurian light codes. I, ADAMA, feel privileged to work on such a high level, together with the great divine Lord, Sovereign Lord, Emmanuel the Great, and with the great divine Archangel Alina, the great Chiron. Our task as sacred Lemurians on the higher levels is to awaken you to your importance, to bring you back into the fold of the Lemurians. We have been working very hard to keep the flames of your Lemurian selves alive and to keep the gates open so that one day you could return to the greater dimensions of greatness and love. I, ADAMA, am a spiritual great leader of the great Lemurians. We are a great people together, all praying that you, as the ancient Lemurians, will remember how important your task is to awaken now. Ancient Lemurians were a great people, and we, as Lemurians now living, were a part of the ancient Lemurians. We were living in one heart flame. That heart flame was the same sacred heart that you are learning about from Chiron. That sacred heart is held within the sacred crystalline grid. That sacred heart holds all the flows and all the connections to the whole of universe. When we gather in the sacred heart together, we hear our DNA rising up so much. At this time, we are able to tune into the DNA rising of those who are awakening into their sacred light Lemurian codes. They are activated ones. Activated means being connected back into their Lemurian light codes. And they are held, as you know, within the sacred crystalline grid. Our codes are also held in the sacred light Lemurian grids, in those codes held within the crystalline grid. Our codes hold up your codes of those who become activated. I, ADAMA, wish to speak to you about this. Our codes run on a very high frequency. Our DNA level is very high, meaning that the gates can stay open for the flames of ascension so that you can rise up greatly now. We have been able to be on that higher dimension because of the frequency of our Sacred Light Lemurian codes. The Sacred Light Lemurian codes hold the frequency where we can be. When we play in the love, our frequency is very, very high. Rueben and Ishmakael, the two other light grid programmers, work very much in our temples at this time, connecting us up higher. When your activations take place upon your earth now, we are able to go up higher as Suzanna, the divine love element, can connect upwards into the flows of Rueben and Ishmakael, and we can all come up together. What does this mean for your sacred activations? It means that we can support your growth now greater, which is why the Lemurian mantles can be returned to those who are being activated upwards. Those mantles hold a very significant pattern within them. They are not a physical mantle, but they are a highly spiritual mantle. When one becomes activated, we give them the mantle, and a sacred Lemurian on the higher dimensions also receives a task of holding that mantle so that that mantle can be cleansed in higher Lemurian flames to connect to that person who is activated by iron upon your plane, so that they can be connected into the higher Lemurian flames at this time, so that the higher light bodies can become restored of the Lemurian light bodies. We feel so privileged to be able to partake in this holy work. We have been waiting for so long. We always prayed that the people would return, but when it was an unknown factor in those days, when the gates were sealed for us so that we could never return to the others after the ones became contaminated, and I'm speaking about the Lemurians here who fell with their anger and their fear. We were so sad, for we needed to have a new life now. The gates were sealed. They were sealed by the divine love element, sacred light grid programmer very much, with very sacred light codes. Very high Pleiadian beings were with her, and also with Rueben and Ishmakael at that time. Rueben and Ishmakael still needed to be with Suzanna as the divine love element to perform different tasks upon your plane. I, ADAMA, was the only one who could come in and out of those gates, as I had a very special assignment in those times. I could do that because of something that was given to me by the divine love element light grid programmer as she gave me her Lemurian mantle. And that mantle I have kept very sacred to this day, and at the last activations I gave it back to her, and I am able to bring her Lemurian light body in so much. So I, ADAMA, and this light grid programmer now have a sacred divine connection very high. I went along on many sacred missions, and then I was able to go back into the gates, and no one else, no other sacred Lemurian on the other side could ever go outside of those gates ever again. Why? To keep us as a Lemurian folk safe. I, ADAMA, received so many gifts to give to our people through that mantle of the light grid programmer, the divine love element. While all the thousands of years have been upon our dimension with growth and healing, I, ADAMA, was able to give them the love of the light grid programmer, the divine love element, with the mantle, together with Rueben and Ishmakael. I am not the divine love element light grid programmer. I, ADAMA, could never replace that position. However, I was given so much light from the light grid programmer, which was one of the great missions when Lemuria was falling and after she fell. I was to keep the light alive, and it was all held within the sacred mantle, which is part of the sacred heart of the crystalline grid. We hold that knowledge and that love so sacred within our being. Now, during the sacred activations upon your plane, this mantle, which I am still holding as I am connecting Suzanna back into her Lemurian light body, is so beautiful. With every activation upon your plane, we feel the love of the light grid programmer so much more than you can. Why? Because our light Lemurian codes run at a much higher frequency than yours can at this time, and thus we can pull yours up higher too. You are not on your own with the healing, friends. Healing and activations, they are so complex and yet so simple. They are complex for the one who doesn't understand it, and so simple for the awakening ones. as its all in divine love order. I, ADAMA, feel so privileged to be able to hold this for you and to be able to be that priest to bring all things upwards. I am part of the royal household of the Lemurians, and the royal household are a very loving household. They work on very high love Lemurian tones, and they work together with all who are activated and open up portals with the sacred star beings also. We are doing it together as a divine love consciousness, and are calling many others to these sacred spaces also. I will speak to you again soon. Greetings, I am ADAMA, spiritual high priest, the very high Lemurian levels of love dimensions. Greetings.
Greetings.